Ladies and gentlemen, the draft is 1 week away. We finally hit the home stretch. This will be my Green Bay Packers 7-round mock draft version 10.0. It feels like just yesterday we started the first mock draft. Now we're on version 10.0, and we'll have a couple more next week. So we'll do version 11.0, which will be my final mock draft in terms of what I draft like. But I'm also going to make a Gutekunst mock, and that's both going to be next week. I'm going to make a Gutekunst mock right before the draft, and that'll be my best guess on what Gutekunst and the Green Bay Packers do. Because obviously when we sit here and we mock, a lot of it is based off of the players I like. Some of the draft crushes I like, some of the players I see fit for the Green Bay Packers, but that may be totally different from what actually happens on draft night. So we're going to do 2 more mocks of my own this week and next week, as well as a Gutekunst mock. So definitely be on the lookout for all of these mock drafts. I will also be going live on draft nights 1 and 2, so make sure to come on out to the channel during round 1 and then rounds 2 and 3 on Friday night as well. Come hang out, go over the picks together, and see the craziness of the draft unfold. All right, so let's waste no more time and get right into it. Let's get into this Packers 7-round mock draft version 10.0, and everything remains the same as it has for the past month or 2, honestly, right? The Packers' needs have kind of remained the same. There's been a little bit of a switch up in terms of the Packers potentially viewing Zach Tom as a Hall of Fame center. That would then heighten their need at tackle in this draft, so that might be something we look into today. Who knows if that's the truth, if that's, you know, what the Packers are going to do in 2024. We'd have to wait and see to see what they do on draft night. That'll be more of an indication of what the Packers, or if the Packers feel that way. All right, so let's dive right into it. I'm going to start with the picks, and if I feel the need to stop at any point because a player is falling and I feel like you kind of have to trade up for that player, then I will do so. And again, we're doing trades based on the Rich Hill draft value chart, which assigns a number value to each pick in the draft, and you kind of have to equate that out to make it an equal trade, because every time you do the PFF trade simulator, it's not realistic at all, like at all. So I try to make it a little bit more realistic here. So let's get into the picks. All right, so let's quickly go over the picks that have happened thus far. I let it go all the way to 25 because nothing really fell the way where I was like, okay, I need to trade up. Caleb Williams at 1, Drake May at 2, Jaden Daniels at 3, Marvin Harrison at 4, Roma Dunze at 5, JJ McCarthy to the Giants at 6, Joe Alt to the Titans, Malik Neighbors to the Falcons, Dallas Turner to the Bears, Fashanu there to the Jets, Brock Bowers to the Vikings. I don't know why. Like, obviously the Vikings are going to go quarterback, whether they trade up or sit there or whatnot. I don't know why they always mock Bowers to the Vikings. Yeah, sure, Hawkinson is hurt. I get that. But it'll be a little crazy, honestly, if that happened. Fatnu to the Broncos, Latham to the Raiders, Fuaga to the Saints, Terran Arnold to the Colts, Jared Verse to the Seahawks, Latu to the Jaguars, Byron Murphy to the Bengals, Quinyon Mitchell. That was a player that I was like, okay, if he falls to 20, I'm going to trade up, because usually Quinyon Mitchell is first off the board over Terran Arnold. I agree with this. I think Terran Arnold should be the first cornerback off the board, and Mitchell shouldn't go somewhere like 12 where a lot of people have him mocked, but you know, it's an option for the Packers. Quinyon Mitchell, say if he falls to 19 or 20, you know, kind of fits that threshold, an outside cornerback, really good press man. You know, definitely an option, say, if he's there, 19-20 for the Packers to trade up and go Quinyon Mitchell for sure. Amarius Mims, another player that's been being mocked to the Green Bay Packers a ton recently due to the Zach Tom news. That's an option for the Packers. Graham Barton, as much as he fits the Packers mold, I don't know if they'd go interior that early, but I do like him. Brian Thomas at 22, Bo Nix at 23, and Cooper DeJean to the Dallas Cowboys at 24. I'm almost certain the Cowboys are going to go O-line at 24, but hey, they could go Cooper DeJean. I know a lot of people want the Packers to select Cooper DeJean. I am one of them, but you know, I don't know if you necessarily should trade up for him. Like, if he falls into your lap at 25, I'm all for it, but I don't know if you should trade up to, like, say 20, 21 for him. I think that's more, say, if there's like a Terran Arnold, a Quinyon Mitchell available, or a top-tier offensive lineman. So we're on the clock at 25, and some of the players on the board. Johnny Newton, he's a player I've talked about time and time and time again, because he continues to fall to 25, and we've yet to mock him to the Green Bay Packers, so that might be the route we go. A.D. Mitchell's here. Nate Wiggins, You guys know how I feel about Nate Wiggins and the Green Bay Packers, at least. Kool-Aid McKinstry's here, JPJ, Troy Franklin, Peyton Wilson, Nubin, McConkey. The thing about Wilson, I actually got asked this yesterday, that if the Packers, if there's a chance that the Packers could draft Wilson in the first round, I would put it close to like 1%, just because he's almost 24 years old. He will be 24 years old. The Packers always draft 21 and 22-year-olds in the first round. That's just the way they go, outside of Devontae Wyatt, which was a second of their 2 first rounds. So I'd be shocked. But here we are at 25. And I think I am going to go the route with Jerzon Newton. I've yet to mock him to the Green Bay Packers, and defensive line, not a massive need, but they haven't extended Kenny Clark yet. So we really don't know if that's what's going to happen, right? Defensive tackles are getting paid an absolutely absurd amount of money recently. So what if the Packers don't want to pay Kenny Clark that 3rd contract at that absurd amount of money, right? We still have Devontae Wyatt. We have Colby Wooden, who I think is going to move out to defensive end. We have Carl Brooks. We have TJ Slayton. Like, there's a lot of depth there, but moving into this 4-3, I think adding a guy like Jerzon Newton, which adds so much explosiveness down low. And for at least 2024, the thought of Johnny Newton and Kenny Clark next to each other, getting after the passer is very scary. Not to mention the guys you have on the edge, like Gary, Van Ness, Preston Smith. We see last year an 84.9, the year before that a 91.5. He had 8 sacks last year, 4 sacks the year before that. He had an 84.0 pass rush grade, 77.1 run defense grade, a nice run stop rate, 7.4%, pass rush win rate, 15.4%. I always see a lot of comments saying, I neglect the defensive line, and the Packers, you know, to be fair, they do like to go defensive line early. So I'm going to do that in this mock draft because I've yet to do it. We're on version 10.0. Like, we've done so many of these. We've done the same thing over and over and over again. And I try to mix it up every time because I want to see different types of mocks, right? How would that mock go for the rest of it if the Packers say go someone like Johnny Newton in the first round? So that's what we're going to do here at pick 25. We're going to go Jerzon Newton. The value's there. I mean, he's PFF's 11th ranked player. His average draft position, 23.6. A lot of people have him very high on his board, yet he keeps falling to around 25 in this simulator. And if that happens on draft night, maybe he's the top player on the Packers board at that point. And we know the Packers love to draft best player available. And right now, that probably is Jerzon Newton. So we're going Jerzon Newton, defensive lineman out of Illinois at pick 25. Draft. And if you see, I pause it at 33. So after our pick, Nate Wiggins, A.D. Mitchell, Guyton, Chop Robinson, Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy, so a ton of receivers right after our pick, and Jordan Morgan at 32. And I know I did this, I think it was either last mock or the mock before, but I want to do it again because I just can't pass up the value here at pick 33. And that is trading up with the Carolina Panthers for a particular player. So this is how this trade would go down. We'd be moving up from 41 to 33. So moving up only 8 picks. We'd have to give up 91, but we'd get back 141, but we'd also have to throw in 219. Just about the same value there on the Rich Hill trade value chart. So I'm going to go ahead and offer that trade. And the reason I did this is for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Like, this is insane value at pick 33. The last time I did this, I think I did it at 30, so I had to give up even more. So I waited to 33 here. I was like, okay, I'll let it go to the second round. Like, if we can just get to the second round and Kool-Aid McKinstry's still sitting there, there's no way I cannot not trade up. So getting Jerzon Newton, you know, and Kool-Aid McKinstry, man, that just makes that defense so scary. So after that trade, which I'm okay with the value, the Packers, again, have 2 third-round picks. They have so much ammunition to move up in this draft if they want to. And if a player like Kool-Aid McKinstry just sitting there at the top of the second, where you already pick at pick 41, so you don't have to give up a crazy amount to go get this guy on top of what you already drafted in the first round, the value there is tremendous. And we've talked about Kool-Aid so much. He's one of my draft targets for the first round for the Green Bay Packers. So if they could get him on top of another first round pick, that's just absolutely massive. I think he fits into this building so well. I think he is going to be the perfect type of cornerback for this defense. Press man, aggressive type of cornerback, what they want in the building. And I think he's a very smart kid, great football IQ. So we are going Kool-Aid McKinstry at pick 33, cornerback out of Alabama. So we're back on the clock at pick 58, and surprisingly, Peyton Wilson fell to 58, but this is kind of where I see him going anyways. So in terms of the PFF simulator, yeah, sure, he's ranked 30th, which I think is way too high. His ADP is 39, which I think, yeah, a little bit high, but not too bad. I see him going late in the second due to his age, due to his injury history, and he's not going to be my pick here. There's two other linebackers that I like better, Adrian Cooper as well as Junior Colson. I just think they'd fit better in this Packers defense. They'd like the age, less injury history more than they would Peyton Wilson. Now, there's also Chris Jenkins, but we went Jerzon Newton, so as much as that would be insane, there's really no need for it. We have Jaden Hicks here, Jonah Ellis. We also have Kieran Amagaji. We have Chris Braswell. We already talked about Cooper, Marshawn Nealand, who I talk about a ton, even Jalen Wright down here. So, and Brandon Coleman, who's flying up boards, just a terrific athlete and likely will be a good guard at the NFL level. So sitting here at 58, considering we traded up from 41 to 33, had to give up a third round, I might look into moving back here to maybe get some of that capital back. Maybe not necessarily a third round, but maybe like an early fourth round. So then we don't really miss out on a player right around that range because there's so many available players here. Like I'd be happy with Cooper, Nealand, Junior Colson, Brandon Coleman, Amagaji. There's Jaden Hicks. There's so many different players here that I'd be very happy with. And if I move down maybe to the back end of the second or the early in the third, I think I'll easily get one of those. All right, so I just did all the calculations to move down from 58 to 66. So here's how it would go. We'd swap 58 and 66. We'd swap 104 and 126. And we'd also swap 202 and 162. So we're moving down here, but then we're moving up a decent amount of spots in the fourth round from 126 to 104. And we'd also be moving back into the fifth round with that sixth round pick at 202. So I actually really like this value to move back, 8 spots here where there's a ton of players on the board that I really like. And moving up in the other two rounds where I know there's a ton of talent, a ton of guys that I like as well. I think the value there is very nice. We're going to go ahead and send that trade. It is going to be accepted. Let's get to our pick. All right, so in terms of the players that went off the board after the trade, the Cardinals traded up for Chris Jenkins, so that's a nice trade there for them. Adrian Cooper went after Peyton Wilson right after that, so that's fine, right? Two of the linebackers went, but honestly, the third one is the one I wanted. Kieran Amagaji went to the Lions, a player I did want, but that's, again, fine. Nealand to the Ravens, another player I liked, but again, that's fine. Braswell, Ellis, and Brandon Dorless at 65. So we're here at 66, but there's still a ton of talent, right? Jaden Hicks, I've mocked him to the Packers a ton. Christian Haynes, Andrew Phillips, Jalen Wright, Brandon Coleman, and Junior Colson. But the player I'm going to go with here is Junior Colson. I've yet to get a linebacker in this mock draft. And yes, I've gone 2 straight defense, right? I went Johnny Newton, then traded up for Kool-Aid McKinstry, now slightly traded back, and I'm going to get Junior Colson. So adding to all 3 levels of the defense at cornerback, at defensive line, and at linebacker. And I think Junior Colson can fit right into the Packers team, this Packers defense, as either a strong side backer or a Mike backer. He has great football IQ. I think he could be a strong side back. He has the weight compared to some of the linebackers in this class. He's definitely a very close second as my favorite linebacker behind Adrian Cooper, but depending on what you want, and if you want more of a Mike, more of a strong side guy, Junior Colson is definitely my favorite. So 6'3", 247. He's still only 21 years old. Last year, he had an 81.7 grade, 80.0 run defense grade, 83.4 coverage grade, and a missed tackle rate of only 4.7%. He had 68 tackles and only missed 5 tackles. This guy is one of the most secure tacklers in this draft class at linebacker, and there's a lot of them that have like 12 to 15% missed tackle rate. So to me, this is a great pick in the third round. If he's sitting there in the third round and we have to trade up or say trade down from 58 and snag Junior Colson, honestly, I'd be happy with him at 58, but we got a little bit more draft capital and took that risk and still ended up with our guy. So we're going Junior Colson, linebacker out of Michigan, here at 66. So we're back on the clock at 88, and remember we got rid of 91 due to that trade up for Kool-Aid McKinstry. So we don't have back-to-back picks here or 2 picks very close together like we normally do. So we're at pick 88. There's some options on the board, right? I think it's almost a guarantee you got to go offense here after going 3 straight defense. There's some good edge rushers in terms of like Austin Booker, Javon Solomon, but I feel like you definitely got to address offensive line here. And there's some great options, right? Cooper Beebe is one of them. Mocked in the Packers, plenty. We have Mason McCormick at guard. We also have Cedric Van Pran, which I just don't really see the fit there with the Packers. We also have Dominic Pooney, who I've been mocking to the Packers a ton recently, because it just fits so well. Like, it just feels like a Packers player, you know, a tackle at Kansas, but last year played left guard. He's going to be a guard at the NFL level. Great athleticism, great versatility. Hasn't allowed a sack in the last 2 seasons. He has an 8.16 RAS based on every threshold. Like, he just fits the Green Bay Packers. 6'5", 320 pounds, 22 and a half years old, so still young in terms of his description here. Pooney is much improved from 2022 to 2023, and if he continues his current trajectory, he has the power profile and size to earn a rotational role at guard with starting potential. And that's exactly what the Packers need right now, right? Yeah, sure, if the Packers move Zach Tom into center, we need a tackle, and technically speaking, Pooney is a guard, but there's not many tackle options here anyways without reaching heavily. So Dominic Pooney is going to be my pick here at 88 because the Packers need a right guard, or at least they need competition there. Yeah, Sean Ryan could win that role, but they still need competition there, so that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with Dominic Pooney, guard out of Kansas here at pick 88. All right, so due to the trade down from the 2nd round to the 3rd round, now we pick again at 104. So although we lost 91 with that Cooley McKinstry trade, you know, we didn't go that far after the trade down to get back to right around this spot at 104. And there's still a ton of talent on the board. We have DTD at the top here. He's someone I like for the Green Bay Packers, and I haven't mocked him to the Packers in a while. We've yet to draft a safety yet, so he's definitely on the top right here for a reason for me. You also have some other options if you wanted to go another guard, which I doubt they go back-to-back guards with Christian Mahogany. Michael Hall, which I do like for the Packers, but we got Johnny Newton, so it's not much of a need there. Jarian Jones, if you wanted to add also a slot cornerback, but I'm not sure if they'd add a Jarian Jones in the 4th round on top of Cooley McKinstry, right? We have Brennan Jackson at edge. You have other safeties such as Tyke Smith. You have Matt Goncalves if you wanted to go tackle, but I doubt the Packers go Goncalves just because he tore his ACL in 2023. And I just feel like the Packers will steer clear from tackles with torn ACLs at this point moving forward. So it's a very easy pick for me. It's going to be Deadrian Taylor Demerson at safety, right? A 78.5 overall grade last year, good run defense, great forced incompletion grade, great coverage grade, missed tackle rate, very low, 62 total tackles, only missed 9 of them, had 4 coverage stops, 11 run stops, only allowed a passer rating of 65.0, had 4 interceptions. This guy is a ball hawk and a versatile player. 202 snaps in the slot, 113 in the box, and 485 deep. I think he gives the Packers what they need in another safety. Yeah, sure, he's not the prototypical box guy like a Jaden Hicks or a Cole Bishop, but he can do that. And also, if the Packers want to get into 2 deep looks, which they're going to do, they're not just going to be single eye the whole year. Like, that's not going to happen, right? Deadrian Taylor Demerson is a perfect fit next to Xavier McKinney, and I think the value here in the 4th round is excellent. So we're going DTD, safety out of Texas Tech here at pick 104. So here at pick 141, I think I'm going to add into the edge room, and I'm going to go with Muhammad Kamara. You know, the production is just absolutely insane. Last year, 14 total sacks, 91.2 pass rush grade, a pass rush win rate of 19.4%. And if you look at him, you know, he's a little bit small, 6'1", 250 pounds. And it says Kamara's measurables limit his finesse, pass rush potential, and ceiling. However, he can be a stout depth defensive lineman due to how much he enjoys the physical aspect of the position. And he is a physical beast. I mean, the guy is extremely fast. I think he was the 3rd most fast edge defender. And his RS is a 7.99. And honestly, it would be in the 9s if it weren't for him being, you know, 6'1", 248. He still put up 23 bench reps at that size, which is impressive. Elite speed, great explosion. We know the Packers love the explosion grade for their edge defenders there. So I've yet to mock him to the Green Bay Packers. They need a 4th guy, and although I think, like I said, Wooden will be defensive end, Enigbari is going to be out until like November minimum. So they need to add another guy into that rotation. Preston Smith's only getting older, and the Packers love to draft edge players. And Muhammad Kamara has a ton of production. I think would be kind of pro ready like right now. Like if they need to throw him into the mix right now as a rotational edge guy, he'd be just fine. So we're going Muhammad Kamara, edge out of Colorado State at pick 141. So we're back on the clock at pick 162, and just before this, Walter Rouse went. He was a tackle I was eyeing because I figured I needed to add a tackle into this draft class, right? We got Dominic Pooney, who is going to be a guard at the NFL level, but the Packers should leave this draft with 2 to 3 linemen, an interior guy and a tackle for sure. So if I sort this by tackle, Javon Foster is still available, who is someone I also really like and I think is good value here in the 5th round. We know how good the Packers are drafting linemen in these type of rounds, and we see here the last 3 seasons a ton of production and a ton of experience, right? 80s all across the board the last 3 seasons at Missouri at left tackle. He led 1 sack last year, so in 13 games and 898 snaps last year, he only allowed 1 sack, 80.9 pass block grade, zone grade 91.0, 6'5", 319 pounds. And like I said, we need to add a tackle as well as a guard in this draft class. So at pick 162, we are going Javon Foster, tackle out of Missouri. So we pick again at 169, and I went Javon Foster because I feel like tackle gets valued heavily, and I thought he would go before 169 if I had waited, and I thought maybe one of Trevin Wallace or Katana Oladapo would fall to 169. PFF updated their board, and they're finally giving respect to our guys, Katana Oladapo and Trevin Wallace, so they're right around this 5th round mark now, which is fair, right? And I really wanted to get one of those guys at 169, but they both went. Even Zach Zinner went, which is another player I like. And Katana Oladapo going to the Vikings is just gross. It's disgusting. I would hate that if that happened. So in this case, you know, the board's okay. You're not going to go another edge. You know, I like Braden McGregor. You could go corner with Kamal Haddon. You could go center with Bo Limmer. So I'm actually going to explore trading down a little bit here. So I'm going to trade down with the San Francisco 49ers here, swapping 169 and 176, and also swapping 245 and 215. So we'll go ahead and do that and get to our pick. So I traded down, and now I'm going to go running back. And there's some options up here, right? We have Kamani Vidal, which out of Troy, great athlete, but someone who's an even better athlete, and I think would be an awesome pick in the 5th round or early 6th round, is Isaac Guerendo. I think I've mocked him to the Packers maybe once or twice before. I mean, this guy is the definition of an athlete. And although the production isn't insane, right? Last year, 14 games, 810 yards, 11 touchdowns, but also had 22 receptions, 234 yards. But he's like the prototypical running back size. 6'1", 225 pounds. And if you look at his RAS, he is a 9.90. Great size grade, elite speed. He ran a 4.33 at 6 foot, 221 pounds. That is very, very impressive. Great agility grade and elite explosion grade. A 41.5-inch vertical and a 10'9" broad jump. That's just absolutely insane. He also has a great elusive rating last year, 106.8. Yards after contact per attempt, 4.11, very high. 543 yards after contact, which is tied for 90th, and that's only with 810 rushing yards last year. So very impressive. Isaac Guerendo, although on a little bit on the older side, almost, you know, he's 23 years old, I think would be a nice 3rd running back in this room. So we're going Isaac Guerendo, running back out of Louisville here at 176. Here in the 7th round, we have 2 more picks. First here at 215, and this one's very easy for me. Elijah Jones. He got downgraded on PFF's board. I think he's more of like a 4th to 5th round type of cornerback. They moved him all the way down to rank 225, even though his ADP used to be 142, which is more around where I see him, because I think he's going to be a good cornerback or a good depth piece early on at cornerback at the NFL level. Last year, an 86.9 PFF grade. You know, he played under Jeff Hafley, so the fit here makes sense. 90.8 man coverage grade, right? He did exactly what Jeff Hafley wanted in that defense. He had 5 interceptions last year and a lot of passer rating of 18.1. Like, if this guy falls to the 7th round or 6th round, I guess it is right here, I'll be surprised. I'll be so shocked. We're going to go Elijah Jones here at 215. He played outside, but also some snaps in the slot, has some versatility there. So Elijah Jones at 215, cornerback out of Boston College. Here at 255 with our last pick, we're going to add another player that got dropped down on PFF's board, but I don't agree with, and that's Drake Nugent. He's a player that I could see going in the 5th round, 6th round at center. Michigan has so many linemen in this draft class, and Drake Nugent is one of my favorites. We got a guard so far. We got a tackle. Let's go out here and get a center. The Packers didn't draft a single lineman in last year's draft class. I think it's going to be the complete opposite this year, and they're going to get 3. When the Packers want a certain position, or want to go draft one or have a need, they usually get at least like 2 or 3 of them, like no matter what. Gutekunst has done that many times where he's triple dipped into a position. And with offensive line, you know, you have so many different types of guys, right? So you have interior guys, guards and centers, and you also have tackles. So getting all 3, a center, a guard, and a tackle, I think would be awesome in this draft class. And Drake Nugent here at 255 would be an absolute steal. Only allowed 1 sack last year, good grades all the last 3 seasons, a lot of production, a lot of experience. 6'2", 301. So we're finishing off this draft with Drake Nugent here at 255. All right, so now let's go over my Packers 7-round mock draft version 10.0, 1 week away from the draft. In round 1, We switch it up. We go Johnny Newton at pick 25. Not someone I've mocked to the Packers yet before, but could be available at 25 and may just be best player available at 25. And the Packers very well could go and select him. Defensive line isn't a massive need, but could you add someone like Johnny Newton to that room? 100%. And that would be very scary for our front seven, or should I say scary for opposing offenses. Then we go and trade up to 33 because Kool-Aid McKinstry just fell and just sitting there. And I was like, I cannot pass this up. And I've done this before where I traded back up into the first and got Kool-Aid McKinstry. But here we trade back up into the top of the second, right at the first pick there, and go Kool-Aid McKinstry, which I think would just fit this defense so well. Then we trade down at 58 down to 66, but still pick up our guy, Junior Colson, who will be a day one starter on this defense, whether that's at the mic or that's at strong side backer, next to Quay Walker, next to Isaiah McDuffie. They obviously need talent there. They need depth there. Then at 88, we go Dominic Pooney, a guard at the NFL level, and I think he's going to be a good one. I think he fits the Packers bill exactly for what they want as an interior guy in this draft. Then at 104, we go Deadrian Taylor Demerson, another guy that I think fits the bill at safety for the Packers. Can do a multitude of different things and will be a great safety to have in a two-deep look next to Xavier McKinney. Then we go 141, we go Muhammad Kamara. I kind of went out of the box here from what I would normally do. He's a little bit shorter. He's a little bit undersized for edge, but the production is there. And if the production is there, man, we need to add a guy like that into that edge room that on day one can go in, rotate in, and get after the quarterback. And I believe Muhammad Kamara is that. Then we go tackle at 162 with Javon Foster. Tons of experience. The Packers probably need to add a tackle like that has a lot of experience that, you know, in a pinch could go in there and say play right tackle or whatnot. Then we go Isaac Grendo at 176, tremendous athlete, 6'1", 225 pounds, ran a 4.33. That's insane. A little bit on the older side, almost, I think, 24 years old. But hey, I think he'd be a good add into that running back room behind Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon. Then we go 2 steals, in my opinion, in the 6th and 7th round that probably won't be there, but again, who knows? I mean, we're talking about the 6th and 7th round, even a week out of the draft. I mean, we really don't know. Like, guys fall all the time, or guys get selected way earlier than they were projected on a big board on a random website, right? So Elijah Jones at 215, I think is absolutely tremendous value. Adding another cornerback into this room with Kool-Aid McKinstry, both of these guys, I think, just fit that scheme perfectly. And of course, Elijah Jones played under Jeff Hafley last year. Then we wrap things up with Drake Nugent at 255, another guy that I really like, and I'd be ecstatic if the Packers could get him in the 7th round. I think he could be a future starting center for the Packers, like if they don't put Zach Tom there, that is, right? So getting him here in the 7th round, just adding a third lineman, a guard, a tackle, and now a center, I think would just round out that draft perfectly. So that does it for version 10.0 of my Green Bay Packers mock draft. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this mock draft. Again, I'm trying to switch things up every time. I'm not going to do the same players in the 1st round and 2nd round every single time. I want to do different things to see what that situation and how that would play out. And that's why I went with Johnny Newton the first. But honestly, I'd be happy with it. Like, if the Packers ended night 1 with getting Johnny Newton at 25, I think that's tremendous value there and most likely would be best player available. But let me know what you think of the picks down in the comments below. I appreciate you guys coming by. Like I said, I will be live for draft nights 1 and 2, Thursday night and Friday night next week. So make sure to come on by to the live streams. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Pack Go.